everyone to the very first take part of our new wellness talks called Beyond Wellness with Aldila. This is to inspire, educate, and inform my clients, the public, the consumer, about their rights, and to give them tools as to how to integrate wellness into their life. Not everyone has a chance or the financial means or the time to go and see a life coach or a wellness practitioner or anyone like that. So what I've decided to do is to do my part in serving my community, in embracing wellness in our lives, using the techniques and sharing the tools that I share in my life every day with my clients, with my friends, with everyone around me. The lifestyle that I lead, the belief systems, the values, and the tools I use and integrate in my life daily with myself and everyone around me is what I'm going to share with you weekly on these programs. I have placed on our Facebook page called Core Madam Wellness Practice what topics you as the viewer would like to see and would like me to talk about. And I'm going to take all of those topics in account. Also in the practice, there's regular themes that actually take place that really hits the heart very deeply that I like to talk about. I like to talk about controversial things, and I like to talk about things that people are too afraid or shy and ashamed for in talking. Heading and looking at that, today is going to be our introduction program session, and we are going to have special guests. We are going to talk about a lot of things pertaining to wellness, things that you as the viewer might think that's not really something that I saw or perceived as wellness. Sometimes we are going to do our program in my mother tongue, which is Afrikaans, and mostly we will do it in English for the viewers. Depending on the need and the topic we have chosen, we are going to be adaptable, we are going to be resilient, we are going to be open and honest, and we are just going to ask, what else is possible that I've never considered in expanding my life, in embracing a life of ease, joy, and glory. So today I have chosen a very deep set topic, which is evident in all of our lives, mine included. And I am, as most who know me will know, a very big Dr. Brené Brown fan. And for Christmas, I actually went and bought myself this Christmas gift from me, which is called Atlas of the Heart. It's one of the best books she's ever written. And it has taken my wellness, my integration, my personal growth to the next level. And I want to share this in today's show with the viewers, because all of us were raised with words, and all of us were raised with value systems and emotions, but very few of us truly go and look to the seed, the meaning and the understanding of a specific word. And in this book she wrote, she actually took 87 emotions, and with her data that she studied with, she dug deep into that word, deep into that emotion. And when I started reading the book and doing the research that she's actually placed here, because this is not a story book, this is not like my book, all romance and fairy tales and wishes of white picket fences. This is actually a book she wrote like a textbook on data, and she used all of her data and all of her research that she did over so many years, and she compiled this book. So we're going to talk about resentment today, and what I might perceive as resentment, and what you as the viewer might receive as resentment, or my friend or my family or my son or my mother or whoever is in my life. Everyone perceives and understands resentment as something else. And only when I bought this book, and I'm almost 41 this year, When I read resentment, a lot of things in my life fell into place and assisted me to truly understand what resentment truly is. Now, I've had some inquiries and topics that my clients wanted me to talk about. When I'm a mother and I've got my children and I have a job and I work hard, there's no time for me to do things for myself, or I feel guilty when I want to do something for myself. And when I really went into this, it all came down to the word resentment. So it's easy for me to talk on the program and say, you mothers must take better care of yourself. You mothers must take time out for yourself. We as mothers need to go and have a little bit more fun. Yes, we all know that. The root of the fact that I feel guilty when I take time away from my children, my husband, or my family comes down to resentment. So I'm going to read to you today what Dr. Brené Brown says about resentment. And in understanding resentment and the definition of resentment, this is going to help us to go deeper within ourselves and release that resentment within ourselves so that we may better understand who we are and move forward. Again, this program is not about stepping on someone's toes. It's not about who's right and who's wrong. This weekly program is to help all of us to understand ourselves better, to heal ourselves, to go into our inner worlds, our inner work, and heal. Because if I understand why I feel a certain way, then I can heal that within me and I can make a different choice. So let's look at resentment. I'm going to read to you what she says. She says, while resentment is definitely an emotion, I normally recognize it by a familiar thought pattern. What mean and critical thing am I rehearsing saying to this person? Resentment is the feeling of frustration, judgment, and anger, better than and or hidden envy related to the perceived unfairness or injustice. Resentment is an emotion that we often experience when we fail to set boundaries or to ask for what we need, or when expectations let us down because they were based on things we cannot control, like what other people think, what they feel, or how they are going to react. So I'm going to post this part. I'm going to post this quote, the data, the research of Dr. Brené. We are going to post it in this session. We're going to post it in this program, and I'm also going to post it on the Core Madam Facebook page with an affirmation that will help us when we say it to ask with pure intention to release it in our bodies. And I'm going to give you two examples today of resentment. One is going to be an example from Dr. Brené's book, and the other one is going to be an Afrikaans story from Orkney Snorkney that actually made me realize what resentment truly is. So Dr. Brené said, I've spent decades working on my perfectionism and that helped me, but resentment remained an issue. Then all of a sudden in one sentence my life changed. I was interviewing the emotions researcher and writer Mark Brackett for our Unlocking Us podcast, and we were chatting before the actual recording started. Out of the blue, I said, before we start, I've got a personal question. Is resentment part of the anger family? Without hesitation, he replied, no, resentment is part of envy. Yeah, resentment is part of envy. So we need to now go next week and see what is envy, because we are all raised. I'm not allowed to get angry. I'm not allowed to be jealous. I'm not allowed to have envy. I'm not allowed to be angry. I'm not allowed to be peed off. It's not the way we were raised. We're not allowed to experience bad emotions and feel these things. But yet we do, because we are humans on the planet. Now we go into the shame game, where I'm ashamed because I'm jealous. I'm ashamed because I feel envious. I'm ashamed because I'm angry. And now we hide those feelings because we're not allowed to feel them. And now resentment comes up. So envy, which we think is a terrible word, don't be envious of other people. Envy is part of resentment and not anger. She goes further and she says, and this is the most wonderful example that I've ever heard in my life. I am not mad because you are resting. I am mad because I am so bone tired and I want to rest. But unlike you, I'm going to pretend that I don't need to. So Dr. Brene tells the story in the book where they had to work late nights on a certain project. But by 5 o'clock, some of the people would say, I'm going home, I'm tired, I'm not going to finish. And Dr. Brene Brown says in a book, one of her illnesses that she has is perfectionism, and I'm also a professional perfectionist. It's also an illness that I battle with every day. And she says she became resentful when some of them just got up and said, oh, it's 5 o'clock, I'm going home, I'm leaving. And she wanted to, as the perfectionist she is, she wanted to finish this task. And in writing this book, I'm going to read it again because it hit me so hard. I finally only understood resentment when I read this. I am not bad because you want to rest. I am mad because I am so bone tired and I want to rest. But unlike you, I am going to pretend that I don't need to. I am not furious that you are okay with something that is not really good and imperfect. I am furious because I want to be okay with something that is really good and imperfect. Your lack of work is not making me resentful. My lack of rest is making me resentful. So, as born perfectionists, wanting to be perfect mothers, or wanting to be perfect people, perfect bosses, perfect wives, perfect friends, we are pushing ourselves beyond the limit. And when someone else actually has the guts to put up a boundary and say, no more, I'm tired, we resent that person or that emotion, or we resent that experience because we also want to say, I'm tired, I want to go on the couch, I want to watch Netflix, but because I'm a perfectionist and I need to do the right thing, I don't want to. So that's the serious part of this discussion. Now we are going to go to the next vision I saw when I was working through this emotion of resentment and understanding my resentment and understanding my perfectionism even more. When I was young, there was an Afrikaans television program. Very familiar in the Afrikaner households, which is called Orkney Snorkney. And I think it was the first movie where Albert van Tonder finished matric and he became a mechanic. And his younger brother Wimpy was very intelligent and he did very well at school, where Albert did not. He was more of a practical person. So there's so much to learn from Orkney Snorkney. We will actually be shocked. We are laughing at it, but it actually shows the true pain of human nature very deeply. So then Albert was working as a mechanic in the car, and Wimpy came to him on his bike and he said to him, I am going to become a pilot because I have matric maths. And poor Albert van Tonder, his biggest dream was to become a pilot, and now he's a mechanic. And that night he went to bed and he was dreaming, and he dreamt that his brother Wimpy was landing on the landing strip of the airport with a jet, private jet. And these two beautiful ladies with these tight little dresses and long beautiful hair were standing on the red carpet waiting for him. And as he got out of the aeroplane on the red carpet with a Lamborghini or a Ferrari, I can't even remember, waiting for him, here Albert stands with his overall and the Bobbejaan spanner. And as Wimpy walks out of this private jet with his fantastic pilot uniform that will make a woman weak at the knees, these girls go, oh, Wimpy, you're a pilot because you've got matric maths. And Wimpy looks at Obud very, very arrogantly and says, yes, don't play in the cockpit again, don't press the wrong buttons, and check the back of the wheel. And as he does that, he gets in the car with these two sexy blondes, and off they drive, and Obud starts crying with this wheel spanner in his hand, and he goes, and I'm going to say it first in Afrikaans. He says, ek wil ook, ek wil ook, ek wil ook. And as he says that and starts to cry, he talks in his sleep, and his wife Yolanda, who's very comical in the sitcom, she wakes him up and she gives him a smack and says, wat wil jy ook? Thinking that he's now dreaming that he also wants to kiss other girls. So it's very, very comical. But it hit me so hard because Albert van Tonder actually showed us that the Afrikaans word for resentment is ek wil ook. Ek wil ook rus. Ek wil ook ryk wees. Ek wil ook suksesvol wees. I also want to stop when you stop. I also want to put a boundary when you can put a boundary. But I can't get myself to do that without feeling guilt or shame or blame. And because ek wil ook, so because I also want to, that locks in the body as resentment. Yeah, let's process on that for 1 second. So when you're a mother and you look at your children and they're driving you nuts, and all you need is maybe a visit to the hairdresser or a visit to Kormadam wellness practice to have your bars run, or go for coffee with your best friend, or just go and have a bath for 15 minutes without anyone whining in your ears, and you can't because you see it as your motherly duty to be perfect. Ek wil ook. My husband can go and braai with his friends. Ek wil ook. My husband can go and play golf on a Saturday, but I must look after the children. Ek wil ook. My husband wants to go on a fishing trip and goes on a fishing trip, but I must stay home and raise the children. Ek wil ook. That's resentment. That's resentment. So we are going to talk about a lot of words in our program, a lot of words, and we are going to delve deeply within those words, and then we are going to look at how can I dissolve that resentment or feelings in my body. And there are various ways that we can do that. The best way, in my opinion, is to run the bars and do your self-help healing at home, using good techniques, affirmations, books, having someone to talk to. But ultimately, once you understand, ek wil ook, once you understand that, you can start choosing different options for you to release that in your life and to change it. So I hope that you enjoyed this session about resentment. Process on it. You are very, very welcome to send the practice messages, requests, comment on this video, and just remember, and I'm going to remind you about it every time, what is the reason for these video clips, for these shows? It's to empower you, it's to inspire you, it's to educate you, to live a life of ease, joy, and glory, now naturally, so that not only you will benefit, but everyone around you will benefit as well. Because the better you look after yourself, the greater the gift you are to the world. So without sounding like Jerry Springer, take care of each other and yourselves.